Well, we did it. Did what? Reached 200 days with our group chat streak. Nice. I think I made my first TikTok in 2022 and started posting more regularly towards the end of 2023. Today, a group chat on TikTok that I started reached 242 days of existing and 200 days in the streak. There's been a streak going for 200 days. Today is May 26th, 2026. Because it's the 26th, it's also release day. Release day is on the 13th and 26th of each month. Tomorrow is RPG Wednesday. Cheers! Software engineering as a discipline kind of exists to encourage literacy to develop in a society, which is why the interview is harder than the actual job, because those are different goals. Being proficient in the language of a business is a different goal than developing literacy in general. On a micro scale, it kind of seems like you can just become proficient in a business, but that doesn't end up working out because businesses aren't universally stable. And we have enough needs as a society that we have different businesses. There are different businesses that exist because we have different needs in society, and not every business is universally stable. I guess I should have said there isn't a universal stability to business. A lot of software engineers have recently been laid off and are going to navigate a new relationship to money. People have been volunteering anyway, and people do things with their time. Not all of this is useful, and business can exist. Most organizations won't pay you to apply to them, and you can also do work anyway, and you can also find a group of people who are doing work anyway. You may discover that maintaining community requires some effort, and you need to do that anyway. So you can find people who are maintaining community and maintain community with them. There are some things to mind about group behavior, and that's worth minding. You can form relationships to groups of people and individuals and have conversations, etc. Cheers! If you're a software engineer, you're likely going to be hired to navigate an amount of logic in a location that other people don't want to consider. And you also need to relate to the people who want this work done. Now it's kind of necessary to have some layer of interpretation to make this cognitively possible. You can run out of energy, and it's important to be mindful of where you're directing your energy so you can actually do things effectively. You can practice exercising your mind. That's why I make art. Cheers! The point of the videos is that you do things between them, and the time that you spend reflecting on your thoughts and collecting them into a form that you can communicate is necessary. It may also be relevant for considering the shape of concept that you want to when you're developing something that's meant to be interpreted by other people. We can just generate code, and we can read the code that we generate, and we can relate to a pace of production that other people would be able to relate to. So if we create content, we can relate to how quickly that can be produced. The point of practicing making videos like this is to relate to the pace of production and tie that into a broader development pace. Just like making art. Cheers! Some ideas transcend language, and we try to describe them, and we can practice English and literature. We can also make art. I have some watercolor brush pens, and a canvas that's been painted on. I didn't have any plans when I painted the canvas the first time, I just wanted to see the color. I recently renewed my Midjourney subscription, so I'm going to explore what I can generate with that. This reduces some pressure on coming up with an idea for what to paint, and I can enjoy the process of seeing whatever come to life. Along the way, I know that I can generate images with ChatGPT and animate them with Grok Imagine. I don't mind doing this because I want to enjoy the process of painting more than I want to stress out about the ideas that I'm trying to come up with. Recently, today, my group chat on TikTok reached a 200-day streak, so I know it's possible to put forth effort. I'm going to be doing that anyway. Today, I want to focus on developing more of a relationship with these brush pens, so I'm going to be playing and practicing. Cheers! The challenges that TikTok offers are fulfilling to the extent that you feel fulfilled by overcoming obstacles. Kinda, like the things that TikTok presents are optional, and it can feel good to reach a goal. But not every goal in life pays you, and sometimes the reward is just that you know that you can accomplish something. That can still be rewarding, and if you share that sense of reward with other people, you might notice there are more rewards that come from that. So it kind of feels meaningless sometimes at first, and you can create your own challenges and overcome them and describe what they meant to you. The context of the TikTok challenges and the ways that we can describe them kind of speak for themselves. On this platform, TikTok, we kind of know that TikTok does some things. You can come up with your own things, and you might need to explain them for other people to understand them. Cheers! If you offer a service, you can have a website and point people to your website to describe your service. Or you can have your website describe your service and point people to your website and have that be the description of what your service is. You're still probably going to need to have conversations with people to synchronize understanding and make sure your services are up to date. There are also digital services that can make it easier for you to keep track of which offerings you have available, which offers. Not sure which one. I guess it probably depends on your business. Cheers. People who build websites might wonder about my website. That's the concept. I make videos anyway because I want to practice this medium. Now we can use some Sunos we can use some TikToks for Suno. We can make songs from our voice. I wonder about improv and I wonder about lyrics. I'm curious what could make a song interesting and to whom. Cheers. Production season is Production season is in October. Production season, October. And also we can practice. We can practice. We can practice. I'm wondering about production. And I'm curious about RPG Wednesday. Cheers. Now AI agents can do ghost jobs. And we also have Danny Phantom as a show to call back on. We can reference that show. We can also reference Ghostbusters. There's a new Harry Potter series. Cheers. Software engineers. If you're aware of the book Cracking the Coding Interview, you should be aware of what's possible with this current wave of layoffs. When that book came out, TikTok wasn't as useful for what it's as useful for today. We can build more navigable career structures. Let's do that. Cheers. If you promote a TikTok, people might see your TikTok and people will respond to different content. If you feel motivated to make a video and you promote that video, someone who likes that kind of thing might like your video. They might not follow you right away or at all. And if you find a way to make a style of video, a kind of video, you're going to find an audience anyway. If you want to branch out, you can promote a few TikToks, and the people who visit your profile might see the recent videos you've made. They also might sort your videos by popular, and it's a good idea to have some videos, at least, that have organically grown. There's a concept of an algorithm and a concept of whatever happens as a result of the algorithm, and there are feedback loops. You can reflect on your own data and develop content that responds better for some reasons. When I go live on TikTok and have conversations with guests, I'm usually talking to a different audience than the people who are discovering my content for the first time, though I have met people through TikTok Live, so it is possible. Cheers. Now I'm going to sell art for different moments that you can reach on TikTok. I want to make shareable experiences, and I also want to practice making art that people buy. So some of the content that I make from now on, well, since I came up with the idea, some of the content will be for the idea that I can make moments more easy to celebrate. My thesis is that art makes it easier to celebrate more moments, and when we can celebrate more, it's easier for us to be in better moods. I also believe we can practice, and I point to intergenerational media literacy. Cheers! If you maintain a group streak on TikTok and post about it on X sometimes, and then update when the group streak reaches different stages, mostly you will have been able to describe the process. And if you're actually working on something else, you can describe that you've been working on it for at least however long. I've also posted videos of myself reviewing code from years ago that was written or generated by a language model. Recently, I tried out Grok Build and I enjoyed the interface. I also generated some images with Midjourney version 8.1, and I can compare those to images that I generated years ago, or at least last year. I believe I got started with Midjourney. Actually, I did get started generating images with Midjourney in 2024. That's when I subscribed to the year-long plan, and I've enjoyed it. I'd like to subscribe to Grok, to Super Grok for a year, and also Midjourney for a year. Towards show, pardon, towards show production, those are my funding goals for myself specifically in the short term. Cheers. If you work for a company and keep in touch with some of your older coworkers, former coworkers, also some of the older ones, if you keep in touch with your coworkers, then you will be able to know what jobs still exist. I phrased that weird. You might work for a company that's keeping y'all employed for however long just because that's the ethical thing to do, or just because they can. It can be difficult to know what the market is actually hiring for. Some jobs that are posted won't be hiring. If you are on good terms with your former coworkers, you can ask which jobs actually exist, and that can be helpful for the job search. Otherwise, we are in a new economy, and it is technically easier for you to start your own company. So that's kind of a direction that's being encouraged. There are reasons why multiple business owners would try to optimize their expenses, and this might be forming a corporation, and our culture might be rejecting the concept of a corporation currently to find a new relationship with that construct. Personally, I've been learning from authors through Book Talk to see where indie publishing is going. I believe the people who can and want to read and can and want to discuss market dynamics will give me the most consistent insight into the kinds of actions that I should take seriously. Other market dynamics might be so chaotic they behave more like fluids than anything I can consider to be solid. And I can talk with experts. I can have conversations with experts, people that I went to school with. I can remember what I tried in college, what turns out to work after considering the theory, how do I say that? I can reflect on what I tried in college and what worked then, and what applies outside of that environment. And I can reflect on people who reflect similarly and consult them when we can have conversations. Sometimes people hire me to make those conversations easier or more likely. And if I design a website for you, I'll talk about it when I'm having other conversations. Cheers. This video is for my team. I'm curious about a portal fantasy concept with the members of our group. My aunt is an author, and I think that I'll ask her to edit a story. So imagining 200 more days. Imagine 200 more days of our group chat streak. Cheers.